What really happened to Jonathan Tiersten? The beloved horror actor who once terrified audiences in the cult classic Sleepaway Camp has sadly passed away, and fans around the world are asking the same question: how did he die? Today we're diving deep into the life, career, and tragic passing of Jonathan Tiersten, from his early beginnings to his rise in horror cinema, and finally, the shocking circumstances surrounding his death. Stay with us, because this story is more emotional than you might expect. Jonathan Tiersten was born on August 11, 1965, in Queens, New York. From a very young age, it was clear that Jonathan had a passion for the arts. Growing up in New York, he was surrounded by creativity, theater, music, and film were all part of his environment. As a child, he didn't just act, he also explored music, learning instruments, and eventually forming bands during his teenage years. He later studied acting, sharpening his skills and preparing for what would become a lifelong career in entertainment. But no one could have predicted that his first major role would define his legacy forever. In 1983, Jonathan landed the role that would change everything. He played Ricky Thomas in the cult horror film Sleepaway Camp. The film, though modest at first, became a cult classic, especially among horror fans. Jonathan's character, aggressive, protective, and unforgettable, quickly stood out. For many fans, Ricky wasn't just a side character. He was one of the most intense and memorable parts of the film. That single performance turned Jonathan Tiersten into a recognizable name in horror culture. After his breakout, Jonathan didn't follow the typical Hollywood path. Instead, he took a unique route, balancing acting with music. He became deeply involved in music, fronted multiple bands, became lead singer of 10 Tears, released music projects including EPs and albums, but he never fully left acting. Over the years, he built a strong presence in independent horror cinema. Some of his notable works include Return to Sleepaway Camp, where he reprised Ricky, Sleepaway Camp 4, The Survivor, The Perfect House, Terror Tales, Time's Up. In The Perfect House, he played a serial killer, a role that earned him critical acclaim and even festival awards. Jonathan wasn't a mainstream superstar, but in the horror community, he was something even more special. A cult icon, Jonathan Tiersten lived a relatively private life. He wasn't constantly in the spotlight. Instead, he focused on his passion for music, independent filmmaking, connecting with fans at conventions. Fans often described him as friendly, down-to-earth, deeply passionate about horror culture. He also had a son, whom he leaves behind. Despite his fame, he remained grounded, something that made fans respect him even more. In his later years, Jonathan continued working in indie horror films and music. He stayed active in the industry for decades, from the early 1980s all the way into the 2020s. Even near the end of his life, he was still involved in projects and remained connected to the horror community. There were no major public reports of illness or retirement, which made what happened next even more shocking. Jonathan Tiersten passed away in late April 2026, at the age of 60. He died at his home in New Jersey, according to his family. But here's where things become unclear. The exact cause of death has not been officially confirmed. Authorities, including the medical examiner, are still investigating the circumstances surrounding his passing. His death was described as sudden, leaving fans shocked and searching for answers. The horror community reacted immediately. Fans, actors, and filmmakers shared tributes online, remembering Jonathan not just as an actor, but as a genuine and passionate human being. He may not have been a Hollywood A-lister, but in the world of horror, he was unforgettable. His role in Sleepaway Camp continues to inspire new generations of horror fans, and his dedication to indie filmmaking proves that success isn't always about fame. Sometimes it's about impact. Jonathan Tiersten's life teaches us something important. You don't have to be the biggest star to leave a lasting legacy. He followed his passion, acting, music, storytelling, and in doing so, he became a permanent part of horror history. So, what do you think about Jonathan Tiersten's story? Did you grow up watching Sleepaway Camp? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoy deep stories like this, real lives, real tragedies, and untold details, Make sure to subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and stay tuned for more powerful stories. Because every life has a story, and some deserve to be remembered forever.